what I'm working on today is a mallet. Now, I made this one about 5 or 6 years ago. Now, it's a glued up head. I actually made it out of 2 thick pieces of oak, and it's a little bit bigger than probably needs to be, but I've used it quite a bit and it's held up. It shows no signs of coming apart. So today I'm going to start working on one that's a little bit smaller than that. Now, a piece of oak I have back here is 3 1/4 inches wide and 1.5 inches thick. So when the 2 pieces are glued together, the face of the mallet should be about 3 inches by 3 inches. Now, first thing I'm going to do is I've got it laid out already. I'm just going to create a knife wall where the saw cut's going to be for the handle. Now, mortise, I'm going to cut half the mortise in this half of the head. The other half will be cut in the other half. Now, I've done this a few times, and if you're careful about laying out and everything, it'll work out pretty good. Now, I'm just going to use a back saw. I'm just going to drop it right down in there. And I've got it marked how deep I want to go. I'm just going to stop short with the back saw. And I'm going to make a cut on both of these knife walls. And then I'll make a few cuts on the inside of those just to help remove the waste material a little easier. Mortise cut out. And what I'm doing is I'm using my homemade router plane here just to clean out the bottom of it. I've almost got that done, just a little bit more to go. I'll have that done. Alright, that's pretty well got it done. Now the only other thing for this half, all I have to do is just cut the end off here, the bevel on the end, and just cut it off the block. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to flip it over, and I'm going to do the other half of the mortise on the other half of the mallet head, and then I'll cut them apart. And I'm probably going to use a miter box for that, just so I can get a nice clean cut on it. Okay, now I'm going to cut the mallet head halves off of this piece of wood I got. I'm using Miller's Falls Langdon Acme miter box, and I got like 4 cuts to make. I'm not going to bore you with all 4 cuts, but this is how I'm going to separate the 2 pieces. Big blade does a pretty good job on this oak. Anyway, I got 3 more cuts like that. I'll do those off camera, and I'll be back when I get the 2 pieces separated. Okay, now I've got the 2 pieces cut apart, and I've clamped them together, and I know you can't see down in there, but I've ran my finger down in there, and I really have a really good match up on the 2 halves as far as the mortise goes. Now I have a little bit of a mismatch on the ends here, and that's okay. If you make something like this, the mortise is what you want to worry about. The mismatch on the outside is not a big deal. I'm going to do some shaping on the head anyway after it's glued up and dried. So I'm happy with this, so I'm going to go ahead and glue it up. I'm going to let it sit for about 24 hours before I do anything else to it, and then the next thing to do, I'll just do some shaping on it, rounding over the corners, getting rid of the mismatch on it, and that sort of thing. But it's really a fairly easy way to make a mallet head. Okay, now I've got this thing glued together, and the mortise is doing good. It's got good alignment on the mortise down in there, and the slight misalignment is just on the ends right here, and that was my fault. When I was cutting it on the miter box, I didn't lock it down tight enough, and it moved. But it's real minor, so it won't be a big deal to take care of it. And I'm going to break this video up into 3 parts. This is going to be part 1. Part 2 will do some shaping on the head, and then in part 3 we'll make the handle.